Greetings, Interworld. We're back. Welcome back to the Sandbox. I'm David with Invest Comics.
And I'm Jared from Famous Faces.
You really don't want to know what our cameraman's doing back there, and frankly, I wish I didn't either, but whatever. Moving on. The reason you all came, or not, oh good lord, why? Why do we keep using them as our talent?
No, this is your fault.
I don't know. First up, our return to form, our wonderful car combat game reborn and brought back to us. Thank you. Twisted Metal.
A lot of classic goodness coming back. A lot of the old characters are back. Gameplay pretty solid. Graphics look great. This game does look fantastic. Soundtrack is all awesome music and the kind of classic stuff you would expect to hear in a Twisted Metal game.
Not Rob Zombie anymore, but still really, really hard, really good.
That's Rob Zombie, man.
Well, he didn't do the whole thing like he had been doing.
True.
Yeah, because he did, what was it? I think it was the soundtracks for 3, 4, and I think he did, had a good amount of contribution to Black.
Mm-hmm.
So, just not up to him anymore. But, yeah, like it. It still has the same kind of wonky physics that the game has always had, so if you hit someone just right, they'll just go sailing off into the air for no apparent reason. So it's, if you're a player of the game, you'll be used to it, you'll know it, and you will be able to adapt. It would have been nice to have seen them evolve it just a little bit more to bring it a little more up to date into the next gen as far as the controls and some of those physics go, but ultimately it still feels, it's like an old comfortable shoe. That's really the best way to describe it, because it controls the same way, but there have been some slight improvements, but at the same time they are really, really good improvements that they should have done before, like the old the freezes and the overloads and things like that of nature. They're not necessarily powers anymore. There's not a power meter you have. They're just assigned to the different directions on the directional pad, the D-pad. Thank you. And you don't have to enter these convoluted, complicated button combinations to get them anymore. It's like, oh yeah, I want to short circuit their engines, like push this button. I want to do a freeze attack, push this button. I want to do something else, push this button. Yeah. And they just recharge. There's no power meter that limits you to however you use it. You use them, it recharges, you use it again, lather, rinse, repeat.
Greatly simplified and appreciated on that front.
Now, as far as if you can still shoot them backwards, if you redo the like you used to be able to with the old stuff, if you did the combination a certain way, I don't know if you can. I haven't figured that out yet.
I know the regular weapons you can still shoot backwards.
Yes, the regular ones you can. It's basically the same good old-fashioned weapons. You got the napalm, you've got the homing rockets, the power rockets. Mm-hmm. You've got the ricochet now. Instead of being just a bomb that bounces around, it's actually like a little RC car that kind of bounces around, which that's a fun little thing. It's what it needs to be. It's Twisted Metal. It's goodness. It's got phenomenal online, and you actually have an aerial vehicle now with the Talon. So that's just a whole new level of combat and fun. The only real sort of downside that we personally had with it was the story mode. I mean, it's good, it's handled well, but you only have 3 characters to choose from, which their thinking was that the characters are the cars themselves, which it's the car and the driver that really does make the character.
I completely disagree with their point on that, because it's the 2 of them together, not either individually.
So it's the way they have it set up is you pick one of the characters, you play through their storyline. Every match you pick 3 vehicles, and they have a garage system where you can swap out the vehicles as needed or wanted. Now, this is fun. It works well, and it is cool to see Sweet Tooth driving, say, Mr. Grimm's motorcycle. It's a cool thing that should have maybe been just like a little extra or an online type thing. It's not a horrible story mode. The cutscenes are the same kind of twisted live action goodness they did in Black, just even darker and gorier, which you don't think that's possible, but it is, and just way weird.
The cutscenes are phenomenal.
But I mean, next time it comes back, it gives back the other characters. I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but it will really make it better.
I personally find it extremely frustrating because the 3 characters you get to play as are Dollface, Sweet Tooth, and
Mr. Grimm.
Who 2 of those are my favorite characters, but I love every character from the series, and not being able to see their story arc and what they're won out of Calypso for the tournament is half the reason I play the game. I love the dark, twisted stories that they have, and I only get 3 stories, and it really seems like it focuses more on the multiplayer, which multiplayer is fine, but I normally play games for the story, so I get left out.
Man, I mean, I'll agree with him. I love me some Sweet Tooth, but I mean, 2 of my favorite characters are nowhere to be seen. I mean, there's no Axel, there's no Minion. You have, you know, a Minion-esque truck that they call Juggernaut. But, you know, I mean, I love my lost demon roaming around on Earth for no apparent reason. It's just fun. So, we like it. We enjoy it. We can't wait to see what kind of improvements they'll do with the new one. Moving on. We actually have a Wii game to review. I know it's a bit shocking, but every once in a while there are gems on that system that are worth playing. And of course, anyone who plays video games and knows their stuff, Zelda. Aww. This is the latest one from Nintendo. This is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now, heavy emphasis on the motion control in this one, since this was developed with the Motion Plus in mind, and again, specifically for the Wii. I liked it. I mean, the controls are really, really good. I don't generally care for motion control games unless they're done well, and then when they're done well, you can actually have fun and enjoy them. This, I thought, was one that did it well. The art style is kind of a cross between Twilight Princess with a little bit of Wind Waker thrown in, so a little more stylization. Some of the things will look like they have a bit more of a painted feel, which, granted, I would have liked them to stick with the Twilight Princess artwork. This is still not so far gone that I'm going to complain about it the way, you know, most people did when it came to Wind Waker. I enjoy it. It's actually set prior to, I think, the majority of the games, because the whole purpose of this game is actually explaining the origins of the Master Sword, which, hey, that's something we've never done before. Now, again, I really do enjoy the controls, with the exception being the flying, which I'm going to let Jared cover that one since he had the biggest problem with it.
The flying controls are very obnoxious. The way it's presented to you, it should work easily, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't flow. It doesn't feel natural.
I get what they were going for, but it does. Yeah, it doesn't really click as well as some of the other control schemes they have established in this game.
Yeah, it's just blocking. It's cumbersome. That's the word I'm looking for.
It's a good word.
Yeah, and one of your first major missions is a flight mission, and
yeah.
It took me probably 5 times longer than it should have, just because the controls are frustrating and, as I said, cumbersome. Personally, the story in this is great, and that's what the main draw for Zelda always is. But I found a lot of problems with this game. I absolutely didn't like the art style. The graphics themselves didn't look as good as Twilight Princess did on either system. Twilight Princess to me looked better on the GameCube than this does in general, and I understand it's supposed to be kind of stylized, but the edges seem rougher. It just doesn't seem as well rendered. And again, the art style is not quite my preference, but I could get past that if it looked like more effort had been put into rendering it and making it look more finished. Everything just kind of looked solid and kind of bland to me. But
this is us saying set the bar a little higher for the new one that comes out on the next system.
Hyper-realistic graphics always make the Zelda stuff shine like it did in Twilight Princess.
Really do.
Yeah, the prettier the game, the better it's going to be. But other than that, the motion controls did actually work pretty well. The combat with the sword was probably the best part of the game, and
you really do feel like you're holding that sword and swinging it around and controlling things. And even the new dowsing mechanic, it's a little weird, but once you get a feel for it to kind of search for things, that's kind of fun. And then just holding your sword all the way to the sky to charge it up with energy and just unleash a devastating, the little energy wave attack, that's always good fun. So, we enjoy it. We like it. Go out. Get it. Dun, dun, dun. And now, we're We're hosted by a comic book and comic site. We do this in a comic shop, so let's do something comic related. The Darkness 2.
The Darkness is based on a comic from Top Cow, obviously titled The Darkness. It ties in with the Witchblade universe, which has seen a lot more attention with movies and animes based on it.
Yep.
Sorry, TV shows.
But movie, yeah.
The Darkness is tied in very strongly with the lore of the Witchblade, and it at least gets its own game, which both entries have been excellent, and this one just builds on its predecessor's accomplishments, and this is a fantastic game.
I will say up front, I absolutely love this game. I've been a big fan of the franchise since it came out. This one, hands down, has the best combat mechanics, and it's the most fun, and the story, and just the art style. It is a little jarring because it is a little cel-shaded at first, but you get used to it really quick. And my only real big gripe with this is that it is criminally short. For something this good, you don't want it to be over this quick, because you can probably clear out this game in about 5 hours.
Yeah, one of the best things about this is there's it does have RPG elements where you can buy new powers and upgrade your tentacles and your darkness powers, and it is a absolutely brutal game. You can buy executions for your
violent and gory
for your darkness tentacles, and they
body parts
destroy
everywhere.
everything and everyone.
There is no mercy. There's just violence and gore and the most violent enemas you can ever imagine.
This is the game to play if you just want to feel like a badass.
Just an unstoppable force. Chop up guys like they're a slab of beef in a slaughterhouse.
And you got to spend some time with the co-op, or?
I messed with the co-op system. I didn't have time to actually go online and play with anyone, but the basics of it is they actually do have an expanded co-op system in this, unlike the multiplayer from the first game. This one, it's a story-based co-op where Jackie, the whole basis of this one is there's this organization, Brotherhood, coming after Jackie to try and take the darkness from him because they don't feel he's a worthy host, seeing as he had it locked away for about 2 years, I think it was. And their original purpose was to protect the world from the darkness, but being around it for as long as they have been, they became corrupted by it, and now they're obsessed with it, and they just want to possess it and use it to control the world and everything in it. So it's the side story for the co-op. The Vendettas mode is that Jackie goes and enlists the aid of four other people who have weapons that have been touched by the darkness and imbued with powers. You have J.P. Dumont, who is a witch doctor. You have Shoshana, who's Mossad. Yeah. You have Big Jimmy, who's just this giant, violent Scot. And you have Inagumi, known as the Hound, who's a samurai with a darkness-imbued blade. Each one of them, as I said, they have these special weapons. You have Inagumi has his sword, Shoshana has a shotgun, Dumont has his voodoo staff, and Big Jimmy has an axe. Each one of them has a special ability with it. And then they each have increased traits, be it increased agility, more damage, they can take more damage. But all four characters are working together through different missions to either, you have two modes. There are several levels that string together to form a story where you work through those. And then there's also these wanted missions where you're basically just bounty hunting certain high-ranking members of the Brotherhood. So that one's a bit more like an arena where there's a short level, but ultimately it just boils down to you get to this final area and you start clearing out waves and waves of enemies until their leader finally shows up, and then you deal with them. Now, it's functional, it's really fun, and it's a lot better than the multiplayer in the first game. The only downside is just adjusting to the limitations of the powers you have of these characters, as opposed to having at your disposal every single power when you're Jackie. So once you get a feel for each one of your characters and you've got a feel for your play style and play preferences, you'll really enjoy this. You just get online, get 3 friends, go nuts, have fun.
I think that'll about wrap it up.
It does. Oh yeah, my only other gripe is the fact that you only have one Darkling in this one, which, don't get me wrong, they do an awesome job on him.
Yeah,
He's fantastic.
Having a bunch running around was really good, but they worked on this one's character a lot more. So
They did. They really did.
fun.
And he really is fun, but I still would have liked to have seen more of him. But yes, we enjoy it. Like I said, ridiculously short. That's my only real big downside. So if you can go pick up a used copy, go. If not, just get your hands on it, play it. It's fun. Enjoy it. That's it for us on this episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.